Hi, this is Veterans News, a production of the United Veterans Organization of Nassau County. My name is Ed Allman. I'd like to thank Altice USA for providing the training for our crew and for the use of their studio facilities here in Hauppauge. The show is broadcast on public access television. You can also catch Veterans News on YouTube. Just go to Veterans News UVO. The UVO, by the way, stands for United Veterans Organization. I'd like to say hello to our viewers in both Nassau and Suffolk counties. I'd like to thank Sabrina Lacey, former commander of the Suffolk County VFW, for being our co-host. Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you, Ed.
I'd like to thank our crew. Donald Caulfield is on camera 1. Derek Foran is on camera 3. Derek is a new guy. Audio director, Loretta DeBrino. Technical director, Beverly Allman. And our director is Robert Lane. Okay, by the way, if you'd like to ask me a question or to make a comment on the show, please email me at mardiv1@optonline.net. That's mardiv1@optonline.net. Our guests today are Don Sioss of Mount Sinai in Suffolk County. Don is the adjutant of the New York State Disabled American Veterans. And he also coordinates the transportation program throughout New York State.
Right.
Okay. And Jim Brown. Jim is from Chapter 145,
Correct.
Located in Valley Stream. He's the VFW, the DAV commander. I told you, if I make a mistake, just jump in on it. And Jim is a mentor for both the Nassau County Veteran Service Agency and the Nassau County Traffic Safety? No.
The Veteran Traffic Court
Veterans
in
Traffic
Hempstead,
County.
and the Veteran Treatment Court
Right.
in Hempstead.
Okay. We'll talk to our guest in a few minutes, but first our list of veterans who died recently. Art Noskin, a Korean War veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. He was the former president of the Greens Veterans Club in Melville. Donald Schlegel served in the U.S. Air Force, became a manager of the Apollo Lunar Module Project. John Eek of Mineola was a proud U.S. Marine and a member of the New York City Fire Department. Edward Anderson was a proud Korean War veteran from Brooklyn. Vito Melis-Urgo of East Meadow was a proud Korean veteran and also a member of the Fire Department in New York City. Gerard Leone, a U.S. Army veteran, he lived in Northport. Jeffrey Egeman of Mattituck served with honor in the U.S. Navy as a machinist mate, petty officer, 3rd class. Rocco DeLuca of Levittown was a decorated sergeant in the Korean War. Michael Patafundi served on a submarine, the USS Batfish. He was a Korean War vet, and he lived in Babylon, and unfortunately he just died December 23rd. George Hoban of Bethpage served in the U.S. Army in the Korean War. Frank Sutter of Bethpage served with the 2nd Armored Division in Germany. Joseph Lodi was a proud veteran of the Korean War from Hicksville. Robert Graff of Northport was both a veteran of the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Marine Corps. Clifford Miller of Howard Beach, at the age of 17, joined the U.S. Army and served both in Germany and in Vietnam. Eugene Bonneberger of West Islip was a proud Navy veteran of the Korean War. Although most of the veterans that passed away this month were from the Korean War, this last one is deserving of a special mention. John Mateague was a 2nd lieutenant in the U.S. Army Air Force, killed in action over Germany, August 24th, 1944. He was the co-pilot of a B-17. In September 2019, Because of DNA analysis, his remains were identified. He was been buried in Calvary Cemetery. Okay, if you know a veteran who died recently and you'd like their name mentioned on this part of the show, just email me, please, at mardiv1@optonline.net. That's the end of Veterans News. Now it's the time for our guest. Hello, Don.
Hi, Ed. How are you?
Okay. And Jim, how are you?
How you doing?
Okay. First, gentlemen, tell me about yourselves. Jim Brown, how about yourself?
My Vietnam deployment, I landed in Tan Son Nhut Airport in 1966. From there, I went to Cam Ranh Bay, and I served in offloading Liberty ships in regards to critical material that we had to deliver. I drove a 5-ton. And in addition to that, I was on a temporary duty assignment. Most of the time I was in Vietnam. From there, I went to a place called Phan Rang, which again, we worked with the Air Force delivering bombs.
Phan Rang, where was that?
It was on the coast.
Of Vietnam?
Yeah, in Tu Corps. They had special ops there, and they had a Phantom Air Force base there also. And we would deliver armament, ordnance to them. Then after that, they sent me TDY, and I did long-range convoys.
What is TDY?
A temporary duty assignment, and my duties were to drive to fire bases and different locations that they needed critical supplies, mostly hauling 105s and different armaments and cement. Whatever they needed in those areas, we delivered. And after that, I drove an amphibious vehicle called a Lark, which was 35 feet long, 12 feet tall. Tires were approximately 5 feet tall, and they could go in the surf, and they could offload. We could offload Liberty ships in the South China Sea. We also went up and down the coast in the inland waterways, and we delivered personnel and cargo.
Jim, you have a picture of the vehicle that you drove in Vietnam?
Yes, this is the picture of the Lark.
Let's see if we can get
Lark 5. I don't know if you can see it, but this vehicle
there we go.
was like a mountain goat. It could go up like a 60-degree angle. It could bounce up a hill. You could go into a 10-foot surf with that, and it was a very good vehicle to get to terrain that you couldn't really go to. In fact, if you had a lot of mud, you could use this vehicle also. And we offloaded a lot of cargo during the storms when they couldn't land planes. Went out to the South China Sea, approximately 5 miles out, and they offloaded napalm and different critical supplies that were needed, at that time.
So most of the time you were driving either one of these vehicles, or were you driving something else?
Most of the time I was driving a 5-ton.
5-ton truck.
And they needed replacements to help drive these amphibious vehicles.
Okay.
And it was a very interesting vehicle. My work knowledge of the vehicle was basically turn it on and go.
Okay.
So we really didn't have that much of a history with it, but it really served a purpose, and it really did a good job.
All right. Well, the time you were in Vietnam, you didn't get hurt. Is that right, or do you?
The only problem I had is I lost my hearing for approximately 3 months due to a fellow that shot an M60 right off near my ear, and I had a problem, couldn't hear for approximately 3 months.
Wow.
But other than that, that was my basic medical problem with that. Coming back after my tour, I noticed I was getting sick a lot, and a lot of things I guess are Agent Orange related. So many of the people on our post in our chapter have really critical medical needs.
Right.
Many of them also have severe illnesses due to Agent Orange exposure. And so when we do things, it's very enlightening that, you know, they would go out and do all these charitable work and be that sick themselves. So I'm very proud of my guys.
Yeah. In your civilian life,
Yes.
you worked for a chocolate?
Yes, I worked for M&M Mars Candy for 28 years. I'm bringing a lot of joy to people, and
Sure.
I happen to be a chocoholic myself.
And I'm an M&M
Okay.
fan. with
You're an
peanuts.
M&M fan?
I like the ones with the peanuts.
Sold
in
a
it.
lot of Snickers.
You can keep the
M&Ms.
peanuts. I don't like the peanuts.
And Snickers also?
Yes.
Very good. All right, Don, how about you?
Well, my story was a little different. I didn't get to drive very much. I
Okay.
was assigned as an infantryman, and I was assigned to the second of the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment.
What do
with
you
the,
mean 506? What does that stand for?
They had infantry regiments during World War II, and we were 506, and second
506th.
battalion of the 506th.
Okay.
The parachute. It was originally a parachute infantry regiment. During Vietnam, the 101st Airborne, which I was in what they called an air mobile status.
Right.
So there was no jumping. We would go out into the field via helicopter, and then we would pound the ground for 30, 40, 45 days
Right.
before we would get
Did
back
you
to the rear.
have to take parachute training?
No, I did not.
You didn't?
I did not. We sometimes would go maybe for 3 or 4 days and secure a fire base, and then back looking for the enemy and patrolling and such, cutting our way through the triple canopy jungle that they had
Yeah.
in Vietnam.
Yeah, you said before the show, we talked about this a little bit. You spent actually 3 months in the bush?
I spent the better part of my deployment there, which was a little over 4 months, in the field.
In the field.
We would come down, stand down for maybe 2 or 3 days, spend 1 day at the beach, do some training, and go back out. That's what we did.
Yeah.
As I said, maybe we'd stand down at a fire base, which was less intensive, securing the fire base where the artillery supported us, but right back to the field, walking through mud in the monsoons.
So you can't say that the food was anything to remember.
Well, the food was sea rations,
Sea rations.
Yeah. and there were some things I remember very
Yeah.
well about it, and some I never touched.
Okay.
I was supposed to be there for a year. I was there a little over 4 months when one of my squad stepped on or somehow tripped a booby trap or landmine, what they call IEDs today, and I was blown up. And of the 3 of us that were hit, I'm the only one alive today.
Really?
The other two soldiers were killed. One immediately, one died en route to the hospital. From there, I spent about a week on a hospital ship where my leg was amputated below the knee. I then went to Camp Zama in Japan for about 3.5 weeks, and finally back to the United States via air transport to Valley Forge General Hospital outside Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, where I spent about 8 months recuperating. And while I was in the hospital, some people from the DAV came along, and they offered me a free membership for a year, and I signed up, and at the end of the year, I became a life member of the DAV. And
What year was that about, approximately?
that was 1971,
1970.
yeah,
So you've been a member of the DAV for how many years?
since 1971.
Thank you for your tenacity.
Yeah, so spent a lot of time. I never knew that it changed my life in a lot of ways, and I spent a lot of time working at the chapter level. I was the state commander for a year back in, I guess it was around 1990, and then I went on to become the national commander for the DAV in 94, 95.
National commander of the DAV.
Disabled American Veterans, yes.
Did you meet the president while you were national
I
commander?
did. I did.
I thought
It
you
was
did.
Bill Clinton.
Bill
And,
Clinton.
I did meet him in the White House in the Oval Office, and he's an interesting person.
Sure.
Yeah, he was a very personable guy, and it was interesting. I met a few senators and stuff at different times. The Secretary of Veterans Affairs at that time was a gentleman called by the name of Jesse Brown, and he had been one of our members, and I knew him very well. He was actually our executive director of Washington headquarters, and he went on to become Secretary of the VA
Wow.
for about 5 years under Bill Clinton. And it really, I ended up with a commitment of committing my life to the DAV. I've been active since 1971. In 2012, I took over as the adjutant for the state of New York, and that's basically the CEO, adjutant being a military term where I take care of the logistics and the paperwork and things like that.
Okay.
And, the other people do stuff.
I'm curious about your civilian job.
I spent 34 years as a civil engineer, working on various municipal projects, primarily on Long Island, for a consulting firm.
For what kind of education did you have to become a civil engineer?
I got a bachelor's in engineering, and then I was in grad school when I was drafted, and when I got out of the service, I finished my master's. So I had a master's degree also from.
You were drafted while you were in school? You were in graduate school?
Yeah, no deferments in grad school. Deferments were only undergraduate.
Undergraduate.
Right, that's correct.
And then you got out of the service. Did you use the educational benefits?
I did. Only for a year to get my master's degree, and that's really all I needed to go to work and work on my career. So.
Okay.
I just have a question. I don't want to take you back too far, but I think the viewers need to know about your injury and being at your DAV. Because there's a lot of veterans out there that are suffering from PTSD and other ailments. And I find it very interesting that, and me going to school myself at 60, coming back from Vietnam, and you still have that drive to go back to school and complete your degree after your illness. And we didn't have the type of VA that we have now that took care of our veterans like they're doing now. Can you tell us what you would see the difference between when you came back and where we are right now in terms of the way the veterans are being treated?
Good.
When I came back, I was rehabilitated in the Army hospital, which was a very good hospital system. And we had a ward that was devoted entirely to amputees. So you would come in there and you'd see this guy lost 2 limbs, this guy lost an arm and a leg, and you'd say, like, I'm nothing compared to that. So psychologically, it was good for you. And we developed a bond. I did not initially get very involved with the VA. Well, I will admit to that when I came out in 71. I got out in 70, latter part of 71, I got out. I went to the VA to get my compensation claim. I would go to the VA for prosthetics, and they provide prosthetics for me. But as far as medical treatment, I got a job. When I got a job, I had medical benefits, and I used those. And the rumor was, when you talk to people back in those days, that the VA was, you waited, and you know, I'd have to take a day off, go and sit there and wait. And I didn't want that. I didn't have the time for that. And I had the medical benefits, especially as I had a family. I had to maintain medical benefits, so it had to be a family plan. And when I retired, then I started going to the VA. And I find that the VA, from how it was described to me in the 70s, is a totally different animal. They're more efficient. They give you an appointment. I show up for my appointment. I'm usually inside within 5 to 10 minutes, seeing the doctor, and I'm on my way. So they've come a long way. Can they do better? Probably. Sometimes it takes a little while to get an appointment. Certain specialty clinics, the eye clinic, will take you 75, 90 days to get an appointment, but they do a hell of an eye exam.
I met hundreds of Vietnam veterans, and they all have different ailments, and I haven't seen one like you with your ailment to keep persevering and going forward. Because when you go on a job interview and you tell somebody you lost a limb, and they still hire you, and you continue to do your job, and you continue to take care of your family, and then now today, 2020, we get ready to go into, right, Ed? You're still doing DAV, and there's some veterans out there don't even want to join our organizations. We have probably about 3 different organizations sitting up here right now, and all of us besides me is over 50. And
Besides you?
besides me, I'm 40.
Oh, okay.
And they're 30 and 40, and they don't have the time, or they have an ailment not to want to join one of the organizations. And here you're sitting up here in 1994, you were the national commander for the Disabled American Veterans.
That's right.
We honor you for that, and we also honor your family for keeping you straight, because I know that's the backbone. Your wife, you know, and your children, your family. So
They supported me all the way. They absolutely did. Otherwise, I couldn't have done what I did. You know, and I don't know. It hurts me that younger veterans don't want to join, whether it's the VFW, the Legion, the DAV, because it's the political lobbying and stuff that we do and the other organizations do to get laws passed. That's why we have all the benefits we have today. Because we've got groups in Washington, as you do, down there, going to Senate hearings, going to House hearings, pushing the senators and the congressmen to get legislation passed. And the secret to that is membership. Got to have the membership. Got to have the numbers.
Yes. And with you being DAV, and I'm quite sure there's some other organization you may be affiliated with, how do you feel with the DAV, with the young people joining? Are they coming along?
We've got some coming in, and it's good. We've got a line of officers right now that's they're all younger. They're all way post Vietnam. Our department commander this year is 28 years old. She's a Marine, and we've got a couple other men on the line who are 40s. One woman is in her 50s. So we've gotten some younger people. We could use more.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard of the warfighter benefit that the VA is offering, where a veteran, usually a disabled veteran, is entitled to a 1 week free time in Honduras, at a scuba diving camp?
I did read something about that. I didn't realize it was Honduras, but I had read something about that.
Yeah. So any disabled vet would like to apply for this 1 week free in Honduras for a scuba diving or fishing week. Please email me at mardiv1, that's MARDIV1 at optonline.net, and I'll tell you more about it. How about the disabilities? You both have a disability because you couldn't get into the DAV without it.
That's correct.
How much was the losing your leg worth? Was that 60%?
Just the leg was 40%.
40%.
Yeah, I have other, not as serious disabilities, and they add on top of that.
Right.
But just below the knee is 40%.
Yeah.
Above the knee is 60%, and then if you have multiple or higher up, it goes up and
Mm-hmm.
up.
Initially, did you just get the 40%?
No, initially I came out with 90%.
Okay. Did you get the other 10%
I did.
over the years?
Yeah,
Good.
it took a little bit, but I did get it.
Okay.
How long did it take for you to go through the process?
I didn't go through the process until 1996.
You wasn't receiving any benefits?
I was receiving benefits,
Okay.
but at the 90% rate.
Okay.
And well, actually, when you come out of the service, you get 100% for like 9 months or something while they evaluate you, and then they assign you your percentage, which in my case was 90%. And I had that from 71 or 72 until 1997 when I applied for additional compensation through the DAV. DAV has national service officers to prepare claims for free. Veteran comes in, we'll prepare a claim for him and follow it through the system. And I did get up to 100%. So, and that's really as high as you can go, unless you have, if you have multiple amputations, there are statutory awards that provide more money, but I have nothing like that, obviously.
I have some of my friends that are amputees, and they run the marathons and doing some of the things, and I met some of the girls that are recently had the things. And one thing makes me strong is to see someone like you, and your mindset is different because you see someone who has an amputee and you have PTSD. I'm not combining them or bringing them to the surface, but I just want people out there that's isolated, the veterans that's isolated, to let them know that it's different to come out now. But we all dealing with what we have to deal with, but we also have to come out here and support each other and keep it moving and live where you can live at from the position that you're in.
Okay. We only have 5 minutes left. Jim, can you tell me about what you're involved in
Yes, I'm a mentor at the Veteran Treatment Court in Hempstead.
What's the treatment for?
Basically, DUIs,
Driving
drug
under the
abuse,
alcohol, under?
yes, drug abuse. We have a range of crimes from order of protection, felonious assault. We have a number of different issues that they're battling. Many of the veterans have multiple combat tours, and they come back with some mental issues. Anger management is a big problem. And some of them have turned their lives completely around. There are a number of veterans who were looking at a 5-year stint in the jail if they didn't go along with the program. They stayed with our program for a year to a year and a half. Part of the program is you have to go there, you have to sign a contract. The ADA, Joe LaRocca, is terrific. The personnel there are marvelous. Tiffany Gillum, the VA representative, is wonderful. They go out of their way to help the veteran. But when you go there, you have to be approved for the program by the court personnel and the ADA, and you have to sign a contract, and you have to admit your guilt. And you know what's going to happen if you violate the terms of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we've had a few that they've violated and they were incarcerated.
Right.
But hopefully, it's a small number. But the amount of lives they turned around at that court is just miraculous. We have a Judge Goodsell who is wonderful. He really wants the veteran to get better, to get
Yeah.
off drugs, and live a productive life. So it's a terrific program. In
Okay.
addition, I volunteer in the traffic court, which is a new policy.
And
in
we're going to
Nassau
go over
County.
the traffic court next month, so don't tell us anything about it right
It's
now.
a terrific program.
All right. Don, very quickly, what does the DAV have to do with transportation?
We run a transportation program in a number of the hospitals throughout New York State. In particular, we run a transportation program in Northport, which is the largest or second largest in the state of New York. We raise money, which is one of our challenges, to raise money to buy vans. We buy the vans, donate them to the VA. VA maintains them, et cetera, puts gas in them. And we then recruit volunteer drivers, and that's our second challenge. To recruit drivers. We always need drivers. Right now we've got guys doing multiple shifts, doing 2, 3, 4 days a week where they're supposed to be only doing one.
Oh.
We have snowbirds who go to Florida. They'll come up and drive from May till October, but then they go away. We, for no cost, we pick a veteran up at his house, bring him to the VA for treatment, and then turn around, take him home, and drop him off at his home. And it was instituted in 1986 when the VA stopped providing transportation.
Right.
And it's a great program, and it's a tough one because donations are tough. We've got a few organizations that have been behind us. One organization has donated 4 vans to us, and it's been very helpful to get organizations that behind us like that.
Okay. I don't know if we have a minute left. If we do, can I get the crew up here? Come on.
And then once again, I want
Derek,
to take the opportunity to
Donald.
thank everybody for the holidays. Merry
Right.
Christmas and
Very
Happy
good.
New Year's. And,
Very good.
And
Oh,
once
wow.
again,
We're getting the whole
welcome,
crew up here.
welcome y'all,
Good.
all the Vietnam veterans for coming back. And thank you to the crew that's here now. Ed?
Okay. Yes. Just want Donald. There's Donald. There's Loretta. Did we get Derek in there?
Right behind you.
Move over that way. Move over.
We're trying.
Okay, got to show everybody. There's Derek. Okay, did we have our director out here? Okay. Thanks a lot. I hope everybody has a good New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Okay. Thank you.
I thought it went well.